Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's class. Our Python class continues tonight and now we will be explaining the Python library side, which is NumPy and Pandas. I believe that by now, maybe especially those that have started checking out for job application in this field of data analysis, you would have seen some requirements, maybe like you saw Python, you saw some basic things needed in Python. That is what you should know as a Python programmer. So you would have seen NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn. These are like basic libraries used for uh, Python programming for analyzing data. I'm going to be explaining the use of Python pandas and NumPy and how you can make use of them in your data journey. So I'm going to share my screen now. I believe everybody can see my screen. So I'm going to open my digital notebook. So this is my Jupyter notebook. I already have a pre-written code that I'm going to be using. So I just want to look for the code here. So let me see if this is it. Okay, I already have a pre-written code here that I'll be using for tonight's class just to explain, okay, the libraries that I'll be focusing on the use of pandas and matplotlibs. These are like basic libraries in Python programming that you use for data analysis. So what is Python pandas or what is pandas? Pandas is a Python library used for working with data sets. So it has functions for analyzing, cleaning, exploring, and manipulating data. So the name pandas has a reference to both panel data and Python data analysis. So and was created by Wes MC what is his name? Kenny, abi, in 2008. So this is like just like a brief introduction to pandas and why use of panda. That is why people use pandas for data analysis. So Python pandas allow us to analyze big data and make conclusion based on statistics theory. Pandas can clean messy data. So pandas is also used to clean dirty. It's just like the way I've introduced you to the use of Microsoft Excel, how you can use it to clean your data, do some basic analysis and all, and also the use of pandas. So Python can also do that, and what we use most of the time is Python pandas. So it's not limited to pandas. We also have different libraries and I will also be talking about them, but this is just the first one I'll be explaining. So pandas can clean messy data sets and make them readable and relevant. So relevant data is very important in data science. So and then what is data science for those that they don't know what it means? So data science is a branch of computer science where we study how to store, use and analyze data for deriving information from it. And most of the time this lead to data driven decision or informed data or informed business decision. So what can pandas do? Pandas give you answer about the data, like So is there a correlation? So what are those things that can be achievable using pandas in your project or in your analysis? So you can use it to check for correlation from we can use it to check for correlation between the two features, or with between two column in your data set, just to check if they are correlated or not. So you can also check for missing value, you can check for empty data, you can clean data, you can do basic things with Python pandas. And it also work with tabular data. So most of the time we use data frame a lot anytime we are working with the library. So if you are not using a Jupyter notebook, you may necessarily need to install the library before you can make use of it. So if you are not using Jupyter notebook, you may necessarily need to install it. And this is how to install it. You use pip install pandas. So once you use pip install, and at times you can use conda install pandas. So if this command fail, then use a Python distribution that already has pandas installed, like anaconda. So we also have, like, when you want to make use of it, especially in the in an environment like this, just like Jupyter notebook. So the first thing is, if you are using Jupyter notebook, you don't necessarily need to install it. What you just need is to import it, because it's already pre-installed in with anaconda when you install it. So you just use import pandas, then now pandas is imported. So what I'll just do is, what you're just going to do is you're going to import it by using this so is you're just going to use import pandas. So once pandas is installed, this in this scenario, we don't necessarily need to uh install it, because it's already pre-installed. So you just use import pandas, just like the way it's being spelled there, to install pandas. And I believe my screen is okay. Let me try to maybe make my screen bigger a bit so that you can see it clearly. So import pandas, and once you use this, you're just going to run it. Now pandas is imported and ready to use. So you also I will use it to create a table. Initially, I think is it Monday, I explained dictionary to us, and this dictionary is now what I'm going to use to create a table in this settings. So data, let me just try to rename this. I've already explained a variable naming to us. I believe that we can still relate to that. So I want to use a variable name for this dictionary. So I'll just say Techie Jones, Techie Jones, data analysis student underscore bio. So what I'm trying to do here is I want to create a database, like I want to create a tabular data for Techie Jones data analysis student. So here, once I wrote this, the reason why there must not be a space in between is this variable name is going to throw an error if there is a space in between. And instead of jam padding it together, I use underscore as a spacing in between this name, because it's a long name. So Techie Jones data analysis student bio, which is equals to curly braces, then I'm using name, then this column. This name is key. Why all this Abayomi, Kunle, Victor, Femi, they are like they are like the value, but the value is stored inside a list, because a list is anything that is inside a square bracket. So this is just like an element just in form of rows inside this name. So we also have age, then column, then we use 23, 30, 27, 35, 20. And don't forget, anytime you are working with this data type in form of number, just like integer is any number without a decimal, float is any number that has decimal, while complex number is number that has j, just like that. So anytime you are working with number, you don't necessarily need to put them inside a quotation, but when you are working with a text, you put them inside a quotation. That's why I added this Abayomi, Shola, Kunle, Victoria and Femi inside a quotation mark. Then numbers of time present in class. So I'm trying to also, this is just like I'm creating a table to store the data of my students, that is knowing their name, knowing their age, then knowing the numbers of time they at ten d classes, and all these are stored inside the curly braces. But you will see, you notice that inside that curly braces we have key and value, and this value is in form of list, but you can see the keys separated with column. So once I run this, so I've run this, then what I'm going to do now is to store what I've run into another variable. So I'm just going to get the name of this. So bios equals to pd dot, this pd is the pandas, because once we import pandas here, import pandas as pd, that is, we are using this as pd just because we don't want to be repeating pandas anymore. So anytime we call this pd, is actually representing our pandas. So once I get this, I'm just going to use, okay, bios equals to pd dot data frame, then open bracket, then uh I'm going to put the names of that database, which is Techie John's data analysis student bio. So I'm going to store it and I'm going to run it. I'm going to run it. Then I'm just going to show what I've created. You can see here that I've created a table called name, age, and numbers of time present in class. And you see here that I have Abayomi as the 0, I have Shola, I have Kunle, I have Victoria, I have Femi. So all dis, then these are their age and these are their numbers of time present in class. So you can see that this is just the basic datas I use. So Techie John's data analysis student bios, and you can see name, Abayomi, Shola, Kunle, Victoria. So the way I did it is just like by using a Python dictionary, but I'm now using it with a pandas library. So and this is it. I was able to create my table in this format. So just by using bios equals to pd dot data frame, then open bracket, take it dot data analysis student bio. So now I'm calling the bio, which I've stored all this into them. So now you can see that this is the data set. So in this data set, we can perform some basic analysis, we can check the maximum, we can check the minimum age, we can check the total numbers of time that people attend classes. So we can sum it up, we can check for the highest time that people attend classes to know the people that attend classes the most, or probably know the numbers of time each person attend classes, or know the person that least like that has the lowest age in class. Then we can also check on those that are older, maybe like, and this can be a variation for them to come to class or not. So it may be like maybe they are older enough, or they are old, they are not adults, probably they are old people, or there are people above married, like people that are married, maybe they are married, that's why they are not coming to class often. Maybe they have other things they need to attend to, that's what is keeping them away from class. So this can be a consequence, and we may just want to navigate through All this I'm saying, I believe it shouldn't be new to us because these are just like basic logic we use for excels and power bi. So I'm just showing you how this can be achieved using python programming. So now, if I use this bio square bracket age then dot maximum, this is just like for checking for maximum. If I try to run it, I'm able to see that the maximum age is 35. So if I want to trace that out, I can just use bios square bracket bios then square bracket age then equals to 35. So if I run this now, you see that from the table it shows that Victoria has the age of 35 and came to class 8 times. So now I'm using the maximum time that, like, I'm trying to check for the maximum age. Then after getting the maximum age, I'm trying to use that maximum age to check who actually have the maximum age, that is the person that is the oldest in the class. So now I can see that Victoria is the oldest and is 35 years old and came to class 8 times. So now I want to check for the lowest, that is the youngest person in my class. So I can do that by just using dot main then open and close bracket. So if I run this now, I'm getting 20, that is 20 is the lowest age in my class. So if I run this, I'm getting, okay, Femi has 20 age, that is Femi is 20 years old and has, like, he has 9 at ten dance, that is he at ten d class in 10 times. But here we can see that, okay, Victoria is the oldest from our analysis and Femi is the youngest. So these are just like basic things you can actually do with your data set. So we can also perform a lot of things. This my other examples, I don't think we need it. This is just like, I think I created it during the election process. So I'm just trying to use, okay, name. It's just like the same procedure. Name. I'm checking on the Nigerian election results then. So that's when I did this example. I'm just using that notebook again. So name, then Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar, then Kwankwaso. So and then their party is, for Bola Ahmed Tinubu is APC member, Peter Obi Labour Party, then Atiku Abubakar PDP, then Kwankwaso NNP. Then the vote count they have, the first person which is from APC has 800 and something thousand, and these are just like their numbers of count. And we also change, we are also trying to check this count based on location. So we are adding school in which we have OAU, Unilag, Uniosun, Covenant. So let's just assume that this is the location where those data are being collected. So if I also make, assign it to another variable name, which is Nigerian underscore election underscore result, which is equal to pandas dot data frame open bracket Nigeria underscore election underscore result. Then if I try to call it, you see that this has become a table. So we already have name, we have party, we have vote count, and we also have school. And you can see that all these are now in tabular format. So this is just like ways you do them in your Microsoft Excel and also in your Power BI. So we are also making use of coding to perform all this, and you can see that the results are actually the same. So pandas is usually imported under the PD alias. So alias in Python are an alternate name for, just like naming, that you are giving a name that is referencing what you are actually doing. So using the PD is referencing pandas. So anytime you use import pandas as PD, that shows you are using PD to represent pandas. So what you are just doing is you are saving yourself from stress not to type pandas every time again. So if I run this now, the pan, so I'll just run this. Then this is also the same thing. I've done this before. So we've used this as example. You can, anytime you are working with pandas as well, you can also check for the version depending on what you are trying to achieve, because at times you may be working on the older version and there are some things you may want to do and may not be responding to you just because you are making use of old versions of pandas. So when you are using um like, you may need to upgrade the version, and but you can't upgrade it except you checking for the version. So once you check the version and you are okay with it, you can continue, but most of the time it's not necessary. If you are just downloading anaconda, e should come with upgraded versions of the library. Is only if you've downloaded it for more than a year, or like you've downloaded it for a very long time, so in that regard it may be outdated, so you may need to upgrade it to have access to some basic things. So pandas series and index. So example, import pandas as pd. You can also make use of series while working with your Python pandas. So you can make use of it like my variable then equals to pd dot series then open bracket a comma index equals to square bracket x, y and z. So if I run this now, you are going to see that it's going to come in this format. This series is just like you putting an index to what you are doing, and you can see we have xyz and we have 172. So this is for a is representing 172, then index is just like the ways of, instead of making index of 0, 1, 2, 3, you can use your own index, that is what exactly you want to appear in that indexing side. So here now you can see that we have x, y and z. So we also, you can also map a number to a key while creating a table. So if I run this now, we will see. So you can see here that the series or the index here is just like day one, day two, day three. So you may not want an index number to show, so you may try to manipulate it yourself by giving it what you want it to appear. So just like import pandas as pd, we are familiar with this. So calorie equals to square bracket day one, then column 420, day two column 380, day three then column 390. So my var equals to pd dot series then open bracket calorie then print my var. So day one 420, day two 380, day three 390. Then this is it here. So you can play around so many things, you can play around so many things. We can see here that we have calorie and duration. So we are creating a data frame from two series, and the first series is calorie and the second series is duration. So we can see for calorie here we have 420, 380. So this is just like me just making random example. The first example I did is still the same thing as this, but I'm just doing it in different way. So you can use this like in form of this data equals to square bracket curly braces, then you put the key which is the calorie, put the value inside a list which is a square bracket, and also duration. So it work the same way. So and you can see that this is the table that has appeared, and you can do exactly anything you want to do with it. So in the one I've been explaining, this comes in a ways of you creating the data set yourself. What if there is an Excel data already that you already have the Excel data and you want to perform your analysis on it using Python. So load file into a data frame. So if you want to load in that scenario, you are trying to load the data that is already available inside your Jupyter notebook. So if your data set are stored in a file, Pandas can load them into a data frame. So example, load a comma separated value. You should also be familiar with different types of data. We have Excel file type, we also have comma separated value format type. We have different format of data that can be imported with Python, and you can even SQL data can also be brought into dis environment. But what you just need is try to understand the data format that you are trying to work with. So please can you say the value are containing a list, and I noticed that you started with this but didn't end it with. Oh, okay, somebody asking that. I actually end it with it. Maybe you are not seeing my screen very well. So I always start it and end it. So the ending part is there. That's it. So I started this dictionary, which is the curly braces, and I end it here. So you need to open it and close it. If you are not closing it, it's not going to work. And this is just like a list inside a dictionary. So the list give you the give you that privilege of adding a long value. So instead of just assigning your your key, your value to a single key, or a key to a single value. How can I explain that? So you know, normally if we are using dictionary, let me just try to do something. So I can say dic equals to name. Let me just use name. So I can just say this, and the next thing will be, okay, let me just use age again. Let me stop there so that I won't take much of the time explaining this. So you will see that we just have name Abayomi and age. But in this regard, I can only assign a single value to a key, which is Abayomi to name, 23 to age. But when you are trying to create a table where you have multiple rows, that you are going to have a lot of rows, what will give you that space of having a lot of rows is you using a list, instead of a list of value, instead of a single value. So you are going to add all the value inside that square bracket, which make it a list. Then you assign it to the key. You do it for as many columns you want to work on. So why are you using var instead of, okay, the reason why I'm using it is if I use print, it's going to work, and if I don't, it's still going to work, because that's the nature of Jupyter notebook. If I use print here, okay, it's going to work, but it's not going to present it in a good tabular format. You can see here that immediately I put print my var, you can see the way give it gave the answer. So once I remove it, it's going to give it in a good tabular format. So if I use this, you can see that we are able to see it in a good tabular format. So I think it's much preferable in this way. So if you use print, it's going to present it in a way that is not really looking like a table. So just try to just call it instead of printing it. And I think I answered the question already. So for the person asking if I'm closing it with curly braces, I'm actually closing it. And we are using list because we want it to give us a range of a lot of number, because we are building a table that has different rows. So you can't create multiple rows without using a list value. So now I want to explain on how you can load a data set into your Jupyter environment. So if you are working with a data that is already in Microsoft Excel, or is already an SQL data, that is a data from a database, so the way you can work on that is by creating. I always tell people to create a folder. When you create a folder, put in the data set that you want to use inside the folder, then try to locate that folder in this side. You can see here that I click on desktop. After clicking on desktop, I click on data fanatics, and from there I was able to locate the file that I need. So in this, and you can see that the data set I want to use is also here. So I don't need to really stress myself that much, because I'm working in the directory where all the information that I need is needed. But if you also create a table, you also have, then once you create a table, just put in your data and everything that you need. Then you try to come to the home page of Jupyter Notebook, then try to locate it and click on it. Once you click on it, make sure you create a notebook inside that particular folder, so that you are going to really get easy access to it, and to avoid error messages. So now I want to read the data, which is the sales3.csv. So the data here is sales3, so sales3.csv. So if I'm trying to read that particular data, that is I want to show the data, so df equals to pd dot read underscore csv. So I'm using read underscore csv because the data is a csv format. If the data is another format, I'm going to use dot something else, and also read underscore something else. So if I'm trying to, and we are using head because I just want to see the first file of the data set. So this is the data, and this is the first 5 rows of the data. So this is the first 5 row. So import pandas as pd, then df equals to pd dot read, so pd dot read underscore csv. Then, and you can see that the data has already shown here. So the data that we have from our Microsoft Excel file has already appeared here, and we can continue our analysis once we are able to understand the data, then know what is being required of us, and we can also start our data cleaning and preparation. So now on this, we have some certain features that need to be understood, because before you do any analysis, always take your time to understand the data set. So here we have month, we have year, we have customer age, we have age group, we have customer gender, country, state, product category, subcategory, product order quantity. Then we have unit cost, we have unit price, we have cost, we have revenue. So these are like basic things. So these are like basic things inside the data. So now I'm interested in knowing the maximum profit that they make in this. This is like a sales data, right? So I want to check their maximum profit, that is the highest profit they've had so far. And how can I do that? If I check this, let me check the length of this data to see. So the length of this data, okay, to see how, so this is the length of this data set, and this is like 113,000. So 113,000 rows of data. This is the data. The data we are working with is 113,000 thousands row. So in that regard, there's no way you can really know exactly what is going on in this data. What you can do is just try to answer some basic questions using the data. Try to so we just need, because the data is large and it will be very difficult to see, so you just need to know how to use some basic code to manipulate your data and also get some answers to some questions from the data. So what I'm going to do is I want to check the maximum profit. Now the maximum profit here is 15,096, and I really want to see where that maximum profit is and see the product sold to get that particular amount. So if I run this here, I can see that I can even see the date, which is 2015/07/24. So the day is 24, the month is July, year is 2015. Then I can also check on so many things and then try to see the reason why, just try to see the reason why that was the highest profit and what contributed to the profit. So we can also check for the maximum revenue, to see their maximum revenue, and to also, okay, I would also check, uh I'll check for the minimum profit. So the minimum profit is minus 30, and we are going to see that that should be an error. So we can see that this is where the minimum profit is. So the minimum profit is minus 30, and this minus shows that they make a loss on their product or goods in this day. So we can see the product category, we can see that is clothing, is jersey. So this is just like basic things showing the property of what is the lowest, that is the profit that is lowest. And this can give us an overview of what can be done to maybe like move from loss to gain. So we also need to check for the maximum revenue, minimum revenue, and all. So the revenue maximum is this, and also the revenue minimum is 2. So lower revenue equals to DEF, then square bracket revenue equals to 2. So I'm also trying to check on, so now we can see that those that even have 2, they are much. Those that have revenue of 2, so we can see that for lower revenue we have 2, and we have a lot of them here. So the column or the rows that have the lower revenue of 2, they are like around 446. So there may be an error, but while working on things like this, we need to question the reason why it is so and understand why it is before we start taking action. So we also need to check our info of our data, like using this library. You can see that this is the information of the data, the column and the row, the data types and all. You can see that date here has updates, day, and you see that there are some of them that need to be changed or corrected because their data type is not in alignment with what should be present in them. So you need to So we need to change it from this particular data type. We need to change some, not all. Some are okay, but you need to check the one that is not okay so that it can be changed. So we also need to check on the missing value from your data, and the code for checking for missing value is just df dot is null, then open and close bracket dot sum. So here I'm trying to sum all the missing value from each column, and we will see that we have for date, which is 0, day 0, so everything has 0 missing value, so they all have a complete value. Then you can also check on the names of the column. You can use that as df dot column. You can also use df dot category. You can check the unique value of the element inside the data you are working with, which is product dot unique, and it's going to give you the unique value inside those column. So you can also check on the value count, and even this I can just use plot on it. Let me see if it can going to work. So this is just like me calling a plotting stuff on it, which is dot value count dot plot, then open bracket kind equals to bar, and you can all see that a chart comes up that has those features, which is for clothing, bike and accessory. So this is just it, and all these are something that I've explained earlier. So this is just like all about how you can use pandas and some of the possibility that you can see in the use of pandas library. So what I'm going to do now is to explain numpy as well. So numpy is a Python library as well that is just like we used to work with array. So it also has functions for working in a domain of linear algebra. So although most of them just always look that way, does not necessarily mean that you need to know a linear algebra before you can use it, but it's more of array. So we also have, okay, why numpy is being used. In Python we have lists that serve the purpose, so it's just like list as well, so of an array, but they are slow. Most lists are slow, but when you use array is faster. So numpy aim to provide an array that is up to like 50 times faster than traditional Python list. So this array object is a numpy called ND array, that is n dimensional array. It provides a lot of support functions that make working with ND array very easy. So arrays are very frequently used in data science where speed and resources are very important. So why numpy faster? So arrays are stored at one continuous place in memory, unlike lists. So process can access and manipulate them very efficiently. So this behavior is called locality of reference in computer science. So these are just like basic reason, and this is the main reason why numpy is faster than list. Also, it is optimized to work with latest CPU architectures. So this is why it's faster and being adopted. So while language in NumPy written, so which language, like there are a lot of all this library that we are using in Python. It's not only Python that we use to build them. There are other languages outside Python that come together to build it for us to be able to use it in our code. So we have C and we also have C plus plus. So installation of NumPy, if you are using Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda, you don't necessarily need to install it anymore. You just go ahead by importing the library, and so import NumPy, but I also use the alias of np as np. So when I run this, I'm running, okay, array equals to numpy dot array, then 1 comma 2 comma 3 4 5, then print the array. So this is how it works: import numpy, then array equals to numpy dot array. So numpy dot array, so you calling this numpy dot array, you are making this value to be an array. So then when we print it, it's going to show in form of list. But if I try to just print, okay, let me just print type, then AR. So now checking for the type is able to show me that it's class numpy array. So it look like a list, but not list. It's an array. And when we check the data type, we are going to see that it's an array. So we can also check for the version of the numpy, but I'm still sure if you are using the latest or you just download your Anaconda, you may not necessarily need it because you will still be using the updated version. It's only those that maybe like they've done it for a very long time and they are not uh maybe they've installed it for a very long time, and once they want to use it, there are some things that may be outdated, so they may need to upgrade it. So in that regard, you may need to check the the versions of the library that you are working on or working with. So numpy creating array. So we can see this is just like how you can create it, although you can just array equals to np dot array, which is the numpy, then you put in the number. So this is just like a one dimension, and this other example is also one dimension. So we have one dimension array. An array that has zero dimension array, its element is called a unidimensional or one D array. These are the most common basic array. So if you run this, we have 1 2 3 4 5. So this is just like a 1D array. We also have 2D array. So once it's 2D array, you do this, like you make it into separate square bracket and inside a bigger one. So you can see if I try to check for, okay, if I check the type, so you can see that is numpy.nd array. We also have for 3D, three-dimensional array, an array. So this is like when you import it, somebody was asking, please, I don't understand how you imported. So it's just like the same way that we did it. It's just like import numpy as np. Then when you import it, that's all. What you just need is import numpy. Just type import and numpy. That's how to import it, and it's not the only one. how to work with pandas, matplotlib, different ones that we talked about apart from this class. And that's just like the procedure. When you use import, that shows you are getting the library into the environment to use when you want to do something. So using this now, import number as np, I've already imported it and is already available for me. Then I'm trying to create an array. So an array of value, which is np.array. I'm using np.array because uh my numpy is now np. So that's it, and I'm opening a three square bracket here for like three-dimensional array. So this is how array is, just like a is it matrix or matrices in secondary school or primary school. I don't know when that they taught that. So it's just like anything like this, just like a matrix. That's what we call dimensional array. And most of the time it's not really look good here just because you've not applied it on data. And the way you can do that is, okay, by next class I'm going to be working simultaneously with the numpy and matplotlib. I'll be using numpy to generate numbers, that is in form of array, then using matplotlib to visualize or put that in chart. So you are going to see how best they can work together. So you can also use this to check for the dimension of an array. So using array.ndim, just for you to be able to get the dimension of your array. So this is just an overview of numpy. I believe that for those that they are just seeing it, it may look difficult, but when we start applying them in a project, you will see that it's something that is relatable. But I'm just using this to show us the possibility of what it can be done using numpy and pandas. So next class we'll be talking on the use of matplotlib. We'll be talking on the use of matplotlib, and also if time permit I will also explain the use of seaborn. Seaborn and matplotlib just work exactly the same way. And then after that, after Monday, I think Tuesday, I'll pick up a data set just like a project. I'm going to clean the data, I'm going to do visualization, I'm going to do basic things that you need to know. So then we can move to SQL and wrap everything up. So this is where I'm going to stop tonight. So if you have any question, you can just drop it on Telegram group. I'm going to respond to it. So good night everyone. Do have a great night rest.